Welcome to the Dietitian Business Podcast. I'm Maggy Doherty, your host, dietitian, and business coach. I'm so excited for today's episode. It is our very first guest interview where we brought on nutrition counseling expert, MI, motivational interviewing expert, client-centered counseling expert, all things nutrition counseling. She's a powerhouse. I got to hang out with Dr. Joyce Faraj-Ardura, and we had such a cool conversation about her story to developing the Nutrition Counseling Academy, the biggest mistakes she made along the way. And then we turned the lens and looked at her clients that are in her nutrition counseling program and talked about what are the biggest mistakes that she's seen dietitians make in nutrition counseling and how do they fix those mistakes. If you are a dietitian who wants to grow their practice, wants to hear the foundation of how different businesses develop, or you're working on your nutrition counseling skills and wondering where you may be falling short, this episode's for you. One of my favorite things about kind of the two of us is we look at dietitians in private practice who may want help in their business. We kind of help them on opposite ends of the spectrum. So I wanted to really have you on to kind of see that area of the business that I don't see, and kind of learn more about your business and learn more about what you're seeing within dietitians.
Absolutely. And I'm always fascinated to hear everything that you're doing and how you transition in so many different roles, and how you're helping dietitians now. Always happy to share any of the resources that you have because they complement all the work that I do, complements what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And
Well, for
it's all much
those
needed.
So for those who do not know you, quick introduction to Joyce. So Joyce Faraj-Ardura is a dietitian, educator, and total powerhouse when it comes to behavior change, motivational interviewing, and client-centered counseling. Joyce is the founder of Nutrition Counseling Academy, where she trains dietitians and healthcare pros to go from educators to become confident, effective behavior change coaches who actually make an impact in session. She also runs a thriving private practice called Joyful Nutrition, where she helps women navigate nutrition, hormones, and sustainable health changes with a practical, compassionate approach. With a PhD in nutrition and public health and a background as a former professor, Joyce brings the science, the strategy, and the soul to every conversation. And today, she's here to help us level up how we show up for our clients. What an introduction and background. I love it. I love it.
Thanks. Yeah, you end up wearing so many roles as dietitians that at the end of the day, it's like, who are we? And all these different paths that we've been through. Once you start to talk about them, you can think, wow, really? Like we've come a long way to get here.
It's funny, but when I meet people new, they'll ask me what I do for work or what I do, and I almost don't even know what to say these days. 'Cause I'm like, oh, I'm a dietitian, but I don't actually work as a dietitian. I'm like, I'm a business coach for dietitians who want to start or scale a private practice. And so it's just kind of funny as we think about all these hats. When someone asks you what you do,
Same.
what's kind of your
Same, Maggie. I'm like, where do I start? What do I say? Yeah, so it's different roles, different hats. At the end of the day, it's trying to do what I'm passionate about, and avoid burnout, right? So do it in a way that is impactful while also taking care of myself.
Sounds like you kind of have three businesses. You have Nutrition Counseling Academy, you have Joyful Nutrition, and then you have your work as a professor. Are those kind of like your three major lanes of business?
Of business, yes. And if you were to ask of life, I'm also a mom to three little human beings and a dog. So it's always trying to figure out what are my priorities right now, what's my focus going to be, and shifting, my efforts that way. So I am a former tenure-track professor in nutrition and dietetics. And before that, I was a nutrition manager for a substance use rehab. So I managed and created the nutrition program there. So after a few years doing that, I jumped into academia because I really was passionate about going back to academia. And to be honest with you, Maggie, when you go through so much school and you do the PhD track, it's almost like they train you to, continue to go down the academia road. So in my mind, that's all that I was thinking. This is what I'm going to do. become Professor Joyce, and I managed to do that. I was in my 4th year of my tenure-track position when I realized something has to change. So for those of you who are parents and you're commuting and you're juggling different things, sometimes self-care can, go out the window. So in my case, I felt that something had to change. It wasn't sustainable, and it wasn't something that I wanted to continue doing. So what really was the epiphany for me is that I was tired, really tired and burnt out. And I asked myself, if I had 5 years left to live, do I want the next 5 years to look like this? And like something inside of me really got shook. And I said, okay, let's start to think what else we can do. So I started shifting out of my professor role to explore other possibilities. So I still teach. I'm still an adjunct. I'm teaching graduate nutrition courses in different universities. And I still have a foot in the door in academia because I love to teach. But really my passion lies in helping, fellow dietitians just be more impactful. And that's what I realized after working in the Nutrition Counseling Academy, which I started 2021, 2022 or so. And that started because I was talking with fellow dietitians, just chatting here and there. And I'm thinking, I'm teaching MI at the college level. Most of my students want more. And it's not enough to teach two weeks worth of MI. And I'm talking to dietitians and I'm asking them, how confident do you feel like? Do you feel like you got a really good, foundation when it comes to coaching, behavior change coaching, that is? And how do your sessions look like? Is it mostly education? And many dietitians said, you know what? I learned MI, but I still don't feel very confident in my counseling skills overall. So then that started some light bulbs. I'm like, okay, this is something I love. I enjoy. I've been teaching it. I've taken tons of trainings on it. And there's nothing else out there for dietitians in general who just want to become more efficient and effective. There was plenty of trainings that I found in the eating disorder world because I had taken some of those, but nothing that was more so for like general, all dietitians. And I thought, okay, this is my opportunity. And that's how the Nutrition Counseling Academy started.
Sounds like it stumbled upon you. Like you were like, hey, I don't want to become a professor. There seems to be this need for nutrition counseling. And then how did you start the academy? Did you like pilot testing out programs for dietitians, or how did it go from like this thought to wanting to serve these people to an actual thing?
Yeah, it's a great question, Maggie. So it started with this idea and thinking, what am I good at? What do I love? And I love teaching, and I loved, the counseling part of communication in my previous job. So, let's go back a little bit. There was this big quote in the staff break room. And the quote was one of Dr. Maya Angelou's favorite, like most popular quotes. And at the beginning, I'd see it and I'd be like, oh, okay, yeah, sure, that sounds great. But the more I'd spend time there waiting for my coffee to be done, I kept on reading it. And it really like struck a chord with me. And it was, people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. So more and more, I was thinking about how I was making clients feel in session. And even though at the beginning, my counseling skills sucked big time, the silver lining there is that I was the only dietitian working with therapists, social workers, psychologists, psychiatrists. So I was listening in on their conversations about behavior change and how they were making clients feel in session and all the different possibilities. And it wasn't all just about me wanting to, showcase my expertise and how much I knew in nutrition, trying to debunk myths. It was so much more than that. So I started owning my own skills during that time before I jumped into academia. So then I was just trying to figure out what have I enjoyed teaching about, and just talking to dietitians, many of them on social media, like, what are the biggest struggles when you're meeting with clients? And most of them are saying, well, they're not doing the things. I don't feel like I'm really effective. They're non-compliant was the word they were using. People don't want to change and all these different things. So I started surveying dietitians. I made like a really short survey, like what are your biggest struggles when it comes to communication and counseling? What courses have you taken? What resources have you enjoyed? What would you like to learn more about? And I started little by little just collecting information. And I started an Instagram page just for fun, or an Instagram account just for fun. And I started posting different things. It was mostly MI, and then I started expanding a little bit more, but it's mostly centered around patient-centered, solution-focused, strength-based approaches to coaching. So it take a little bit from different areas of communication and psychology to be able to think through the lens of what would make the work that we do as dietitians more impactful when it comes to behavior change. So I started with that Instagram account, and then it started growing. And then I decided to start a Facebook page, not a page, a group. So that started growing, and I could see there was interest. So I started doing like a mini 10-minute training every other Friday. And people were asking for it, and people were joining. At the beginning, there was no one there, maybe one person, but then more started joining, and I started doing like free webinars and getting CEUs. So that's when I knew, okay, I'm officially creating an LLC here. And I would have like an hour-long webinar and get CEUs, and I had like hundreds of people signing up. And I said, okay, maybe it's time for me to create a program, because I started offering one-on-one supervision and like coaching, and it wasn't really popular. So I said, something's missing. What do people want? And the few clients that I had one-on-one, they're like, Joyce, we really wish we had like a group program like to follow with like content and everything. And I said, okay. So it kind of came out of demand for what I was seeing. And I started building the program, and I started advertising it as a hybrid cohort where I would have some of the lessons pre-recorded, and then we'd join a group coaching call every other week or every week. And it's been, progressing and evolving since then. It's been 3 years. But it started out of demand, really. So then I'm starting to figure out what other gap can I fill as far as nutrition counseling goes and behavior change. So I started to create different programs, different series like the Empower series. I had a couple of summits, nutrition counseling summits that are very popular. But the one issue that clients have, the audience has, is what if I can make it live? So a big part of it is like attending live, but then watching the recording. So then how can I make it easier for people to watch the recordings? So then for me, it made sense to develop series where I could just release a module weekly and then build some momentum around that release so people can start to expect that next release, and then have some live Q&As. And that format has worked quite well for the Nutrition Counseling Academy. So we're gearing up for the next one now.
Well, I love, I think there's 4 main things I heard you say as you talked about like how the academy came about and evolved. And the first thing is you surveyed people, you asked what they wanted. I feel like one of the biggest mistakes I see in some of the dietitians that I coach is they put out a service or an offering that they think their clients want, and then no one buys it. And I always am like, did you ask them if they wanted that? Is that the price point? Is that the step they wanted? And so I'm a huge fan of survey, which is how my program came about, was from surveying. What do people want? Okay, here's what I want to give. Here's what people want. And you kind of find that overlap. So it sounds like you did that same survey approach. You ran pilots for free. So put out, hey, I got this idea. This is what you guys said you wanted. Here it is. Come and get it. You kind of like throw out the bait. And there's no reason why someone can't attend something that's free, minus just the time constraints of their schedule. And it sounds like you took that pilot, and when it worked, it kind of grew. Okay, now let's pilot on Instagram. Okay, cool. Instagram works. Let me build something bigger, a Facebook group. Hey, this Facebook group worked. Let me kind of build these other things. And so building from demand is another big theme that I heard, which is awesome. Also, just to build something that has demand. When I first started my new practice in May of 2019, I kind of also had 3 roads. I had business coaching and eating disorder supervision. I had nutrition counseling, private pay, and I had diving nutrition. And I just threw out these 3 things with 3 completely different target ideal clients, and threw it all out there. And then the business coaching, it was kind of what the demand was. Not really a demand in supervision, not a demand with nutrition counseling since I was private pay, or diving. So again, I kind of like threw everything out there. Oh, hey, this is in demand. Let's do more of it. So it sounds like we had a really similar approach with it. And then the other two things I love that you said is, you saw this gap in the marketplace, you filled it.
Mm-hmm.
And then lastly, making it easy for people to buy from you. So, hey, if it's hard to attend live, let me throw it on my shop and give a pre-record or give a replay option for people to watch later. So it sounds like those, 4 or 5 things made your program successful, with surveying, piloting, doing stuff for free, trialing different platforms, building from demand, and just making it easy for people to purchase stuff from you.
Absolutely. And I still feel like I'm always evolving, like how I'm going to present this program, how it's going to, the logistics, the delivery, the pricing, what to include. Because I've found somewhat of a formula that works, but I still feel like there's got to be some type of evolution so that we can continue with the market trends and like the purchasing trends that I'm seeing with dietitians. And I will add, for that first time I did a group program, I had not built the content yet because I had to make sure that there was demand for it.
The same thing. I did the same thing. Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, this is going to be a big thing. So let me just see if there's going to be demand for it. So I started advertising it, and I got 7 people to join that first round. So for me, that was great. That's all that I needed, to know that there was some demand. And then I ended up building it. And then I was building it as it went. So each week I would build one module. And then I was able to tweak it, get some feedback, and then record it all. And that became my signature program that offers like 20 CEUs. But it's been a process, and having the strategy for how to do that has been really invaluable.
So we've heard a lot about the successes and kind of this linear progression of your business, which is great and amazing. I want to hear the flip side. What are the mistakes that you've made along the way, and what have you learned from it in creating and growing and evolving this business?
Yeah, or the mistakes that I'm still making. It's this whole journey is trial and correction. Instead of trial and error, it's trial and correction, to view it from a positive lens. I realized that I can build the most amazing thing ever, but if no one knows about me or no one knows that it exists, then no one's going to join. So I have underestimated how much marketing we actually need to do to be able to get the numbers to convert at decent rates. So, and if we're always, having the same audience that we are going to be marketing to, we need to get new eyes on our programs. So as much as I hate to admit it, it is a numbers game sometimes. So we need to make sure we have new eyes on us. The other mistake I've made, and I'm still working on, is being consistent with nurturing my audience, providing the value, which I think I do provide lots of it. I just don't do it consistently. So having a strategy to be able to nurture, provide value to my email list, having, like routine newsletters. I have a monthly one, but I like to do something else like in between, so that it doesn't feel like just once a month they're going to get an email from me, and then all of a sudden it's launch time and they're getting like 5 emails from me. So then having some type of balance between the crickets once a month and like, boom, there's a launch coming up.
It's so funny how similar our businesses are, and like the infrastructure of them, and of like when you're telling me about these mistakes and kind of these problem areas, I'm like, oh, I feel you, girl.
Yes. Oh gosh. And I can have like the best thing out there, and I can, try to sell it as such. But if I'm not reaching people, and if I'm not constantly marketing it, I'm not going to get people in. So I think I've just underestimated the amount of effort and time that needs to be dedicated towards marketing. And I'm not talking like marketing, like, just selling all the time, but the art and skill of soft selling, of like providing value while also saying, hey, if you're finding this useful, you can learn more about this here or here. So it's not always like in your face. So I feel like selling in its own is an art It's an art and a skill that needs to be developed.
You learn marketing wise, you get ROI on? Like, what have you found that's worth your time marketing, and like what's not really worth it?
So making connections with people. And I think it comes to the same when it comes to counseling sessions. It's like building that connection with individuals and just getting to know them, not because you're selling to them, but just getting to know them so they can get to know you too. And just having conversations, because then they're gonna be like, oh, like I know Joyce, like I know what she's doing. That sounds really good. Like I like her. I know her. I trust her. But when all of a sudden someone comes into my world and I'm like, hey, here are all these offerings that I know are amazing and can help you, but there's no connection established, it's gonna be really hard to convert someone unless you're like, a genius in marketing, which I'm not there yet.
Yeah. Any marketing resources that you've learned from and found useful or helpful or not?
So I don't know about resources, but strategies. I've been trying to do a lot more storytelling in my emails and my stories and my social media, because stories have an emotional aspect to it, and people get invested when they start reading a story. I love stories. Humans just love stories. That's how our brain has evolved to just love stories, because you can either they resonate with you or you can form a connection there, an emotional link. And then that is just a lot better from every point of view. That's why movies sell, right? Stories sell. And stories are really engaging. So I've been working on my storytelling skills, so that people are getting that connection through storytelling as well.
There is. Have you heard of Masterclass before?
Yes, I've seen the ads for it. I've never done any of them.
Platform. Basically, it's master classes by the complete experts, best people in the field talking about something. And I know there's one ad I've been seeing recently on it. I wish I could pull it up. I'll put it in the show notes and send to you afterwards. But the masterclass topic was the art of storytelling. And I'm pretty sure it was the person who's speaking on it is like someone within like Disney or really high-end public speaker. But even my minister at my old church, he told these hysterical stories and would relate it back to scripture, but like he was so engaging because he was always telling this like hysterical story. But when I would be in church like writing notes for like my next webinar, like, okay, I loved how he did this or that. But yeah,
Totally.
stories definitely are a whole so much different. Even with some of my email newsletters that I'll send out, I do monthly ones and I'll kind of do a little like blog-ish article introduction at the beginning. And the ones where I'm not even trying to tell a story, but like something difficult's happening in my life and I kind of use that as my public diary. I notice there's way more connection and engagement and people emailing back versus like, here's really great content.
Yes, exactly. And we're not taught any of that. We are taught to be like, evidence-based. We have to show the facts. We have to be science-driven, all these things, like very dry. Like our writing as scientists, as dietitians, as researchers tends to be very dry. So one of the big things I have personally been working on for a while now is not sounding like a professor, but actually sounding more casual, more conversational, putting more emotion into my writing. And that's something that is just a constant thing. So we're always making progress. But it's been hard because once you go so deep into like your grad studies or like being, a professor in my case, it's like you're expected to be really formal in your writing scientific journals for crying out loud. Those have to be super formal and like using big words all the time. So now we have to like bring it back to like just Joyce, the person, not Joyce, the professor, the whatever, just Joyce.
And I love thinking about, there's another quote I love, on one of them is on the opposite end of success is failure. And the story behind any successful person, there's a story of great failures. And so anytime I think about storytelling, it's, what's something difficult or hard that happened to me, and how do I take this experience and take this adversity and turn this pain into purpose and turn this hardship for me into a learning lesson for someone else. And it's such a difficult perspective to see when you're in like the thick of cruddy stuff in life. But when you get to a better spot and you're able to share that story in a way that helps others, I feel like it can be so powerful, and so much more powerful than, even for me so far. It's like I've learned from your mistakes, not from your successes so far. So I always love about hearing people's mistakes and kind of what they
Me
learn.
too. I'm right there with you. Like, I want to know what did not work. So yeah, 100%. Right there with you. And I feel like we're always learning, we're always trialing, we're always trying to figure out not only what works, but also what feels good. Like what feels like it's resonating with your values, what's resonating with your clients, or aligning with your values, resonating with your clients, with your audience, and also not leading to burnout, and like, allowing that balance. And that's also, I think, an everlasting, or I think it's something we're always working on as professionals. And I realize that no matter what profession I am, no matter what I'm doing, I'm never going to be able to do all the things I want to do. It's not ever going to always fit in my schedule. So then I just need to deal with that and prioritize and focus and really figure out what's going to make the boat go faster, like what's going to help me get to my outcomes, and what do I enjoy doing, so that the rest I can learn to delegate. Yet another thing I'm working on.
Hard skill and takes a lot of practice.
Yeah.
And takes a lot of, giving yourself that opportunity to delegate. And if, with all of our training in college, grad school for nutrition, like there was not one class we had on like management or delegate. Maybe it was like food service management, but like we haven't really learned how to delegate unless like in your childhood, or you were on a team, or you had some sort of mentor who forced you to do that. But for me, the first time I had to delegate was when I had a group practice and I had managers that I was paying to be managers, and I was still doing all of the things.
All of it. Yeah. You just hold on to them so tightly. You gotta start letting go, and I need to start letting go so that I can free up that time for the things that only I can do.
So I want to pivot away from us and turn back onto Nutrition Counseling Academy.
Okay.
The first question that I had was, as you have this academy and it's focused on nutrition counseling skills, who is like the typical dietitian coming to you? Like who's if you were to describe the dietitian who's the perfect fit for this, who is it? Because in my head, I'm imagining newer dietitians, or dietitians who are transitioning from inpatient to their own private practice. It's like I'm thinking it's best for like new private practice dietitians, but that's just my assumption. You tell me.
Well, we have a mix of everything. Dietitians who've been dietitians for 40 years, who've had their private practice for 25 years, to dietitians who just finished their internship. But I'd say the majority of those who join the cohorts to really get that practice, because when I do the cohort, we go through the content, but then we do role playing, we practice, we bring case studies and scenarios, and it's really getting that hands-on application with personalized feedback. So I'm getting mostly dietitians who are moving from inpatient to outpatient or to their private practice because they don't have those skills yet. They might have the MNT skills, but they're missing the communication skills. And the way I talk about this is, when you've been an inpatient for so long, it's like you have a baseball bat and that's your main tool. And then you're showing up to like a tennis match with a baseball bat. So then you have the wrong tools in the new environment, and it's not going to work. So then we have to really gain those new skills and those resources to be able to play that tennis match and actually, get good at it, and then be able to feel confident.
That analogy. So now as we talk about these dietitians, we talked about your mistakes, our mistakes that we've made in business. What are the biggest mistakes that you're seeing dietitians make in your business? Or so like what mistakes are they making in counseling? Kind of what are the biggest mistakes that you're seeing overall with you have this huge view of outpatient private practice dietitians. So I'd love to hear what you're seeing there.
Yeah, that's a great question. And I want to start off with saying what I'm seeing as the biggest mistake that we as a profession have been, guilty of, and that is prioritizing our MNT instead of prioritizing how we deliver it. Because if we only prioritize the science, the MNT, which is what most trainings dietitians tend to are on, then we're really not prioritizing how we deliver it. And then our MNT is going to fall on deaf ears. So I'm seeing dietitians who have been in private practice for a long time, and they're wondering, why are my clients maybe not coming back? Why is it that my clients are not doing the things? And they're lacking the core knowledge and also the skills to understand behavior change psychology. They haven't been applying some of these person-centered approaches. So clients tend to feel overwhelmed. So I'd say that's probably one of the key ones. We are overwhelming our clients with too much information. We're overwhelming our clients with too much education. And education is not the same as counseling. Nutrition education, you can have the content, the application, and then you have nutrition counseling, which is different. So many dietitians, I think, don't make a distinction between education and counseling. Or they think that counseling is just asking an open-ended question instead of like, or they think that they think that counseling is just asking an open-ended question. And it goes so much like farther beyond that. So it's all from our attitude, how we show up in session, to how we make our clients feel, to how we are making them feel empowered. So education does not equal counseling. And along those lines, nutrition knowledge does not equal change. Sure, education and knowledge is a necessity for change, but it's not a direct cause, or the direct result of it is not going to be change, because many people know what to do. They just don't know necessarily how to do it or why they haven't been doing it, which is a big one. They keep on self-sabotaging. So how can we support our clients when there's self-sabotage? When there's so many more things psychologically happening that we can still talk about with them, and we can still help support them, because we have to work on mindset shifts. We have to work on helping them realize what's getting in the way and how to overcome it. And many times I'm seeing dietitians, really want to showcase their expertise. They want to show that we know the most about nutrition. And we think that giving them more information, we think that giving them another handout is going to provide that value or distinguish us from Google or from ChatGPT, and that's not the case. No degree of Google is ever going to replace the connection if we can build that connection with clients. So that's what I'm also seeing. We're not focusing on the connection. And that initial session, that first time you meet with a client, spending more time and getting to know them, their goals, their challenges, what their values are, why these changes matter to them, and all these things, instead of going, usually I've seen like a lot of assessments and question after question. And then boom, we go into intervention. And then the last 2 minutes are going to be planning. So then how can we shift a little bit to spend more time with connection? How can we also spend more time in the planning and just plan one thing? Don't do 3, 4, 5 things. just do one thing and help them raise their confidence. So those are some of the mistakes that I keep on seeing again and again, because I do a lot of review sessions. I review dietitians' counseling sessions. I actually have this really neat software. It uses AI to transcribe the whole session, and it goes ahead and transcribes all the statements, and it highlights the dietitian statements, and it breaks it down. What kind of statement is this? Is this a question? Is it closed-ended, open-ended? Is this a reflection? Is this facilitating change? Is this evoking their own intrinsic motivation for the client? What is that statement saying or doing? And it gives you a score to see how well you're doing motivational interviewing, basically. That's amazing. Yeah. It's a little gem, a hidden gem that I have that I forget to talk about. Hence, thing I talked about marketing needing to be better. So that is amazing because it really tells you objectively where you can get better, like how you can improve. And then we talk about how to do that in session. What are some scenarios where you can do some reflections? When would it make sense to challenge your clients? When would it make sense to add like a little summary? They might seem simple things. When to ask for permission before giving education, but they can make a real difference.
That's really neat. I'd love to see that in action. That's the software that you have, and you will do review sessions with the Academy dietitians.
Yep. So clients are able to submit their audio sessions, and obviously they have their clients sign a HIPAA consent form that they're agreeing to have these sessions recorded and shared with me for quality improvement purposes. And then I can review it, give them feedback, and it's really useful. It's really neat.
That sounds super cool. I love that. Very neat tool. So it sounds like kind of the three main overarching themes is dietitians overwhelming their client with too much information, overwhelming them with setting too many goals, and then focusing on almost the content rather than, the content and the knowledge and the goals and the information rather than just building a connection with.
Absolutely. And also not letting clients decide like what really matters to them. What are their own goals? Let's not go ahead and like impose our agenda on them, but let's help them figure out what are the goals that make the most sense health-wise. And at the end of the day, when we talk about those things, they will likely align with our agenda as well. And so helping them feel like they have an active role to play in their own journey instead of coming in with, okay, so these are the things I'm seeing and this is what needs to get done and these are the goals and these are the interventions. So letting them take a more active role in session, which can translate into a more active role outside of session too.
And when you see dietitians making these mistakes, what's typically your approach on addressing it and facilitating change within them on these areas?
Yeah, so it's very similar to using MI with my dietitian clients too. But it's always highlighting what they're already doing really well, and building off of their strengths, and then saying, I wonder how your connection might shift if this could happen, or if an example would be, if you were to ask a couple of questions in the planning stage, like ask them how confident they are, what barriers do they see, how much more confident do you feel they would leave if you had that discussion with your clients. I often see like not enough time for planning. So, okay, I see many sessions where the dietitians are like, okay, we have 2 minutes left. So what's the goal for next week? Or like, what's the goal for next time? I'm like, okay, there's no time that has been spent like brainstorming. How is this going to work? We want our clients to leave having to do the least amount of mental work on their own. So then if they have a plan that they're confident about and you've asked them, what's going to make this easier for you? How will you remember? What type of reminders do you need? What type of support do you need? And you walk them through a scenario, how much more likely are they to actually do it than if you just say, okay, let's, increase your fiber for next time and then see you in 2 weeks.
That it reminds me with the group practice that I founded, one of the most beneficial things I feel like we did there was supervision. And we would either sit in on sessions or we'd listen to sessions, and then we would provide feedback to the dietitians. Hey, these areas you did awesome. You did so good at this, this, and this. And hey, these areas, I wonder if you paint this thing or like, here's some other ideas. And it was so powerful. And I feel like as a private practice dietitian, you typically get that mentorship training when you're with a group practice. But the main kind of mistake that I see with private practice dietitians who aren't in the group setting is they don't have that supervision because, one, they maybe can't afford it, two, they don't think they need it. But there's so much power in getting feedback on anything you're doing within your your business because you don't know what you don't know. So you don't know what you're doing wrong if no one's telling you you're not doing anything wrong.
True. At the same time, it can be scary to get feedback or to request feedback because you're really getting vulnerable. And I just want to take a moment to highlight the fact that what you said, like, we don't know what we don't know. So I think the first 2 years of the Nutrition Counseling Academy was just me raising awareness of, creating that possibility. Would it be possible that maybe, just maybe, it's not all your client's fault? Just maybe, if you could switch one thing, there would be a different response from your clients. And I think that's empowering to us as dietitians, knowing that we have more control over this too. We cannot control what our clients do or say or respond, but we can control how we carry out our sessions.
Mm-hmm. So my last question I wanted to ask you that just came up for me was, if you think about you and your businesses, where you've grown so much in just a few years of taking this idea and putting it into fruition. So it's come a long way since you said 2021 is when you started it?
2022. So I started the idea in December 2021 because my middle child was just 9 months old when I said, okay, something has to change. So I started that, I think, January 2022.
So like 3 to 4 years, you've kind of been working on the business. Where, if you look forward in the future, where do you want it to be in 3 to 4 years? Where do you see it going based on like the past historical trends of it growing?
That's a great question. And what I answer now could vary in a couple of months or years, but the idea has been the same. My mission is to become the go-to place for all things nutrition counseling for behavior change psychology. I don't intend it to be specific for eating disorders or anything specific, really. I just want it to be for all those dietitians can find the home where they want to just become better when it comes to coaching. I would love to obviously continue with the mission of providing CEUs for all the work that we do. And my goal would be to, I guess, double or quadruple the amount of people in a membership that I have. So we also have a low ticket membership where every single month dietitians get 1 to 2 CEUs on trainings. We get a live group Q&A call. We have like co-working time. We have quarterly power and a quarterly connection time so that we can get to know each other. And guest speakers. So I'm hoping to be able to be the resource that dietitians think of when they think motivational interviewing, when they think behavior change psychology, when they think behavior change coaching, so that it's out there, it's well known, and it provides the resources that dietitians need. And I will continue to evolve based on what I'm seeing. So last year, I did a nutrition counseling series on nutrition counseling for menopause or for perimenopause. And that one's become wildly popular. So I'm going to do a part 2 end of this year. I'll be launching a nutrition counseling series for GLP-1 later this summer. So based on the trends that I'm seeing, what people are asking for, I'm going to continue to create those series so that it can be like an all-encompassing, comprehensive, all-in-one type of program that's going to specifically focus on one thing. So it could be nutrition counseling potentially for mental health in a different year, or it could be for something else. So, I just want to keep eyes open, ears open to see what's needed in the dietetics community to continue to create resources.
Well, I love that. You're so inspiring. It's so cool to hear all the different ways that people can learn from you, from your different type of programs and your offerings and your different niches within nutrition counseling. So this was a super fun conversation where, if people are super excited, which I hope they are, about everything you do, where can people find you? What are some resources that you have available for people right now?
Great question. So if you're on social media, you can find me on Instagram at nutrition.counseling.academy. You can also find me on Facebook. I have a Facebook group that's nutrition, counseling, and coaching for dietitians and nutrition professionals. And I also have a LinkedIn. I don't use it very much, but I'm there. And last but not least, I have my website and a YouTube. I have a YouTube channel. I'll share the link with you. And the website is nutritioncounselingacademy.com. And I will create a coupon. So if anyone finds me through Maggy's podcast and you decide to join any of the programs, you can use Maggy's coupon as well.
That's so much fun. Well, I had a wonderful time talking about you, learning about your business journey, your successes, your failures that, not failures, but your mistakes of trial and correction, as well as what your kind of the main mistakes you're seeing dietitians make in their nutrition counseling practice and the main things that you do to help them improve there. So I hope this conversation, it was enlightening for me. I hope it is for other people as well. And I will talk to you later, Joyce.